My name is Taylor Wimberly. The class is FTT 221, Sights, Optics, and Accuracy. This is my week 3 practical application for scope lapping. I will be mounting a scope to my Smith & Wesson MMP 1522. Before we begin, the area has been cleared of all ammunition and the firearm is clear. First, we are going to remove the magazine, pull and lock the bolt to the back, and both physically and visually verify that there is no live ammunition in the firearm. Next, I'm going to go into some of the tools we'll be using for this lab. All right, in order to accomplish this lab, there are some things you will need. First will be your scope rings and scope. The next thing you will need is the firearm that I already cleared, a vise to mount it in, and a level to ensure that everything is level. The next thing you will need is lapping compound. Here's the level. Your lapping bar, your alignment pins, a torque driver, which I do not have yet. It's in the mail. I'm not going to be keeping this optic on this rifle. I'm going to be gifting it to a friend, but in the future I will have one of those to make sure that we properly torque everything. So moving on, some other things that I also do not have at the moment are Q-tips that would be useful for applying the lapping compound, and some gloves to obviously keep the chemicals and whatnot off of your hands. So I'll be sure to clean my hands. Also, we're going to need some degreaser. I have some acetone right here to remove all of the lapping compound, ensure that everything is clean, so that we have a nice clean mating surface between our scope rings and our scope. All right, so let's get on to the project. All right, so first step in this process is we are going to mount the firearm into the vise and level it. It would also help to have a proper vise to do this. One of these days I will have one, but for now we are going to make do. Maybe I'll get some soft jaws as well, but right now I just got some microfiber towels inside of a vise, and we're going to make it work. All right, let me get you a closer look to ensure that it's level. Not sure how well you can see that, but it is level side to side, as well as front and back. All right, now the firearm's level, we can mount the scope rings. I don't have a torque wrench or a torque driver, like I said, so we're gonna mount this hand tight. I'm not keeping the scope. For future reference, I would get a flathead with a torque driver and torque this to 25 to 30 inch-pounds like Vortex recommends. So without further ado, let's get to it. I already pre-fitted this scope onto this rifle before, and I know that this is where I would like the scope rings for my eye relief. That's something to keep in mind when you do install scope rings, if you are going to be doing this type of project on a firearm that you intend to keep the rings on, is proper placement. But for the sake of the video length, I did that beforehand. So I know this is where I'm going to want these scopes. Now we're going to install the alignment pins, and I will resume the video whenever we get to that step. Alright, so picking up where we left off, we're going to install the alignment pins. When installing these, it's important to make sure that everything is even as you're tightening it down, just to get the most accurate reading as to the actual alignment of these rings. So just somewhat loosely install these at first, tightening them down evenly. So I got too tight on this side. I'm going to try and show this to the camera the best that I can. The alignment pins are pretty close, but where you can really see how off they are is up here from the top. They're just slightly off to the side. So, alright, I apologize for the choppy video. My camera mount for my tripod just broke, so we had to rig it up with some zip ties, and that's alright. We'll adapt and overcome. Alright, the next step, now that you've pre-checked your alignment pins, is going to be to remove those and set those aside. We'll use those again after we lap it, but the next step is going to be to apply the lapping compound to the scope rings and then actually perform the lapping procedure. Again, for the sake of the video, I'm going to cut it and then we'll come back once I have the lapping compound applied, and we'll show you from there. Alright, so I decided to show the actual application of the lapping compound. No real science to it, just spread it on there. You should probably use gloves, but I don't have any. I generally recommend, if you're working with any type of chemical, just to wear a glove and be safe. But it's okay. Just don't make a habit of it. I'm going to be generous with it, but don't overdo it. All right, now that we have the lapping compound applied to the scope rings, you can see here they are, just like they are when they're laid out in the textbook. Now when I did a little bit of research for this and I watched the like a couple of YouTube videos on this, people would apply it. Some people would apply it to the bar and whatnot. I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and put the lapping bar in there and then go for it, and we'll see how that does. If it doesn't work, at least I know for future reference that it would be smarter to apply lapping compound to the bar as well. But as long as you achieve the same end goal, I think that's all that really matters. All right, so just like whenever you check the alignment pins, you're going to apply the top halves of these scope rings evenly. It's going to be a theme with scope rings, just tighten everything down evenly so that everything goes the way it's supposed to be. Another thing that I forgot to do that I've seen people do, and it makes sense to me, is to mark the scope rings on which position they go in. So I'm just going to mark the forward one with an arrow. So that I know that one. Actually, I'm going to do the aft one with an arrow as well, so I know the direction that it goes. So, and then we'll put a little mark right there, show aft and forward. So, another pro tip here. I'm not a professional. I'm learning. That's why I'm in this course. Learning new stuff with every course I take. It's awesome. I'm enjoying it, loving it. Something I'm passionate about. When you're throwing these on, you don't need to make it tight at first. We're gonna cycle this lapping bar a few times and start the actual process of grinding down those imperfections. So if it's too tight, you won't even be able to rotate the bar itself. So just right now we're just snugging it up nice and even, making sure that the gap is the same on both sides of the scope rings. So I'm just putting it finger tight. See if that even works. I think I can go a little tighter than that. That's just about perfect. So we'll install the handle here and we'll go to town. So first, all the way left, all the way right, all the way left, all the way right. We'll start going forward. Feel that getting looser. Wow, I did not think that you would get a result like that fast. So, gotta tighten it a little more evenly on all four of them. Oh wow, that's way too tight. that has loosened itself up. I'm gonna take these scope rings off, see how much we've worn down, and if it requires more, we're gonna repeat this process until about 75% of the scope rings have been lapped. I will come back once I have these scope rings disassembled. Okay, I'm sorry about the choppiness of the video. My son had a t-ball game that we had to go to, so I had to put everything away and postpone and come back. The area is still free and clear of ammo, and the firearm is still clear and safety checked. I didn't feel like that was necessary to show that on video, but it was reaccomplished. Picking up where we left off, the lapping has been complied with, and we are about pretty close to 75% done on this ring right here. Is, I would say, just about perfect for 75%, and this ring right here as a whole is probably I'd say 60 to 65%. That was as far as I was willing to go without overlapping it. So the next step is going to be get myself a clean rag right here. I'm going to take some of this acetone and I'm going to degrease it. It would, if I had my Q-tips right now, I would go ahead and degrease and clean out the holes for the screws and everything, and make sure that that was all clear and free of debris. Also, I'm going to clean these screws and install them. Like I said, this scope is not staying on this rifle, so we're really just doing this to show the understanding of the lapping lab. So yeah, I'm gonna clean this, and we're gonna install the alignment pads to check the alignment, see if it got any better. It was really close to begin with, so if it could get any better, I would be really impressed. So I'll cut the video here, and then we'll come back at the installation portion of the alignment pins for the second time. Okay, so we got the alignment pins mostly installed. I'm just going to torque them equally, making sure the gap on the scope rings is all even. I can tell already that this is aligned better. It's actually really satisfying to see. Wow. So, see if I can actually convey this better than the first time. So as you can see, where am I at here? This is aligned almost perfectly. I mean, if there is a misalignment, then I can't tell with the naked eye. I've previously, like prior to this course, I mean, I've mounted a handful of scopes, but I've never lapped, and wow. So needless to say, I will definitely be lapping all of my scopes from now on, for sure. Pretty crucial part of the process if you want to get the most out of the accuracy for your rifle, and it's relatively very little work. So really happy with that. Moving on to the next part of the project, I'm going to install the scope. We're going to level the rifle, and then I'm going to show you how it looks in the final product. So I'll pause the video and I'll get started just for the sake of time. All right, we're back. We are installing the scope right now. So right now we're just getting it installed. We're just getting it kind of roughly thrown in there. And what we're gonna do is once we get it just barely tight on there to where we can still move it, I'm gonna hop behind it and double check my eye relief on the scope. Typically, if I were installing a scope and leaving it, I would Loctite it, but this scope is gonna come off here and then be reinstalled on my buddy's rifle. So, all right. See if I can still move this around. Yep. Oh, that's perfect. Wow, don't even have to move it. All right, next up, we're gonna verify the level of the rifle. I'm gonna put it right here on the upper receiver because both scope rings are mounted to the upper receiver, and I don't trust this polymer handguard. So it definitely came out of level while we were working on it. That's okay. This jack is not, or this vise is not ideal for a job like this. Attempt to show you. You can see that it is level forward and back. As well as side to side. Side to side and forward and back. So we know the rifle is level and the scope is level. Now, once again, if I had a torque driver, I would torque this down to the manufacturer specifications. Vortex recommends 15 inch-pounds with Loctite in there, probably 13 inch-pounds to account for the friction caused from the actual Loctite itself. So, making sure that these scope rings are even. I'm going to tighten it down. Good. guess that's probably pretty close to 15 inch-pounds. It's not a lot of torque actually. So all right. That is the scope installed and level. The rings are lapped. Thank you for watching. I learned a lot with this project. Mostly about my lack of tooling that I need to get, and it's all ordered and it's on the way. Thank you for watching.